Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want.
Episode 93.
Hi, this is Wendy Williams. And marriage happiness is way possible. ConnectAgain.org is very happy to sponsor Mighty Married Moms. We are partners in bringing you closer to the life you really want. Visit us today for marriage boosts at ConnectAgain.org.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. My name is Wendy Williams. I am from ConnectAgain.org.
And I'm Linda Tighe from allwellbreaksloose.com.
And Debbie Owen from youcanraisegreatkids.com.
And we're all from mightymarriedmoms.com. Mm-hmm. Welcome this morning. We are very excited to have somebody, two women with us. We don't usually have two on the other end of the line, so this is great. These two women started an organization in Massachusetts called the Brain Fit Academy. Christina Schlupf and Pam Formosa believe every brain is unique, so their approach is unique for every brain. Brain Fit Academy works with children and families who are struggling with learning, social, emotional, and organizational challenges. They build and organize a child's foundation using a neurodevelopmental approach, customizing each program using movement-based therapy. Brain Fit Academy is cutting-edge, multidisciplinary, and a program that empowers children to understand how their own brain works, giving them self-awareness, focus, and confidence to move forward. Wouldn't that be great to have your kid have confidence to move forward?
Sounds fantastic.
We're glad to So welcome. We're so glad that you're here on our kitchen table conversation this morning. And so how did you get to do this how did you get here, Christina?
Well, I have a degree in education, and so I started years and years ago in education, and then I had my own children, and one of my children was what we're talking about here. She did not have a lot of confidence. She just had some things going on that we weren't sure what that mystery was, what her puzzle pieces were to put together to build her confidence. And I found movement through Pam, actually, years and years ago. I pulled my daughter out, homeschooled her, and said, what can we do about this? Hey, let's do some movement with Pam and see what happens. Well, it worked like this. It worked like a charm. I was sold. Ever since then, I've been learning more and more and evolved to this place here.
So let me just get this straight. Your child had a problem with self-confidence.
Right.
And through physical movement, her self-confidence
increased
and changed.
Right.
I got it?
You got it. And it increased because we were able to organize her brain such that she could learn better. And
wow.
And then through her confidence in learning, her whole confidence boosted right up.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So you found Pam. And Pam, what were you doing that she found you?
Right?
Well, my background is occupational therapy, and I've always worked with kids my whole career. And probably 20 years ago now, I decided to start my own practice after having an experience of taking a Brain Gym 101 course, which I really thought was just going to be another conference that OTs go to, and it really turned my whole life a 180, personally, professionally. And I ended up opening up my own practice where I was working with children and families doing very similar kinds of things as I'm doing now, and reaching out and using movement-based therapies to help kids reorganize their brains so that they could process information more effectively, gain confidence, coordination, all those things that come along with an organized brain. And Christina, it was a friend of mine actually, and our daughters went to school together so that she was easily able to find me, which was great. And it was really fun to work with Demaya.
Yeah. Wow. So you're saying neurodevelopmental changes in the brain. The brain is the brain, right? I mean, what can you do about that? You can't have brain transplant or
Well, Wendy, what's really awesome is the science is now coming up to speed where they're finding more about neuroplasticity, and that our brain is plastic. It changes. It's ever changing. And when we do the neurodevelopmental work, what we're doing is going back to the foundations of development that for some reason kids or adults missed somewhere along the line, and that now they're having to compensate to get the same outcome, and they have to work a lot harder.
So my daughter was one of those kids. She was compensating all the time and putting so much effort into just getting through her day. She didn't have anything left for the learning process.
Yeah.
And then she would come home and homework would be a battle, as I know many, many moms out there are feeling that for sure.
Sure.
Because these kids are holding it together so much just to manage themselves in a day that by the time they get home, they're done. They're exhausted.
That's right.
And they just can't do it. And that's part of that confidence piece as well.
And you said something about they missed something developmentally, and then they're playing catch up for the rest of the time. Have I got that?
Right.
I mean,
Is it because something the parents isn't doing?
I'm sorry?
Is it because it's parents not doing something?
Oh, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with parents. We have wonderful moms and dads and families out there. You know how when you go to the pediatricians and they look at the developmental milestones,
Yep.
Did they crawl? Did they roll over? Did they have their first words at a certain time? Well, those all happen because we have these very primitive motor patterns in brain development that are there to help us with development. And it's their brain pathways. And sometimes they emerge and develop normally. And sometimes there's probably 100 reasons why someone may have missed that stage. And it's our foundation. So when you have holes in the foundation, it just makes all the higher level learning that goes above it to be more
Efficient.
Yeah.
So when I was working with my daughter, I first realized before I got the movement-based therapy in on us with our homeschooling, I realized as I was going through, I said, I'm going to go back and see what you've missed in your education. So I looked at her developmental foundation for education, realized there were these holes. And then I thought I then put the pieces together to say, wait a minute, it's not just in the education that she has these holes in her development, but it's also in her physical being that she has these. How can we build that back up? How can we go back and fill in those gaps? Now, we get put in on a holding pattern with some of these reflexes that Pam's talking about, some of these earlier motor patterns. When they get interrupted, they get put on a holding pattern. So we want to just tell the body, hey, take that off holding pattern, time to start working on that again. And you can do it at any age. At any age we have seen it. And once we take it off that holding pattern, the body just takes off in maturity again. It's really cool to see. And it starts going through all those developmental stages again.
And is that through the movement is telling the body to switch back on, or is it, hello, it's time to switch back on? What mean?
Well, it's a mind-body, brain-body connection in that identifying what's going on in the body and bringing it to a conscious level. Then our brain and body can work together to move forward and integrate so that we can process information more effectively.
Yeah, when you work with intent, your body knows the intent that you're working with. So it's the same as any mind-body healing that you do, that, as a holistic practitioner you might use as well. It's the same thing. So, and we include the child in on the conversation so that they know what they're doing. Of course, at their level, what's, realistic at their level, but we include them in the conversation. And you know what, children, their response is thank you. Thank you for bringing that out into the open. Thank you for telling me that it's not anything that I need to feel embarrassed about, at fault with. They're very appreciative, and then they're in on it right from the start.
So what age group do you normally work with?
Every age group. I have worked on a 3-day-old.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Yes. My great nephew.
How do you know what's going on there?
Well, my 3-day-old nephew, when I saw him seconds after he was born, they sent me a picture. His brow was all furrowed and he looked stressed. I said, oh my goodness, that child looks stressed already. He was just born. So then I wasn't able to see him until 3 days later, and he still had that look on his face. And then mom reported in, breastfeeding was very difficult. He was sleeping with his fists clenched. He was just always, his eyes weren't open. He wasn't aware of what was going on around him at all. So I said, I need to do something about this. So I did my little step with him. I manipulated and moved him and did my thing. And his eyes opened right up. And he was alert, and all of a sudden, in our arms, he was looking at everyone, like, looking for turning to the sound.
Wow.
Breastfeeding went easier the next day. He was more relaxed. That brow went down. It was amazing.
Yeah. That's a beautiful example of how this is we're actually talking about what's going on in utero in terms of development. It starts conception on. And so when kids are born all stressed out from day one, it just sets up the whole nervous system to stay on that stressed holding pattern, which leads to all kinds of diagnosis once they get to school, which is really unfortunate.
Like what? Like if you left a child under stress from their early days and didn't turn it around, like lucky nephew over there.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that show up that our parents would recognize?
Kids, this is a big one that we hear all the time. Just sitting in their seats at their desk is difficult. The fidgets that are happening. So they're just trying to keep their bodies comfortable in space. That's a big one that will happen.
Well, and then in terms of diagnosis, we hear sensory integration processing disorder. We hear ADHD, learning disability, Asperger's, anything, depression, anxiety, anything with a label. And that's what our system does. We label. We want to label, and there's good and bad. So
that's not to say that we're saying, oh, we can cure all of that. That's not what we're saying at all.
Okay.
We're saying there's a lot of symptoms that look like some of these other pieces. And sometimes, medication is required, but oftentimes we can get to the bottom of it. We can get to that root development. My nephew was stuck in birthing trauma, and his moral reflex was just stopped right there. And I believe that's what happened to my daughter as well, because when she was born, they put her on me and everything seemed fine, and then suddenly she turned eggplant purple and they whisked her away. So that moral primitive reflex is all about the first breath of life, and she didn't get that. She didn't get that naturally. It was put on a holding pattern, and I believe that's what ended up affecting her. So we then took that off the holding pattern and started working with her. So
what does this look like when you're working with a kid?
Yeah.
Let's say you've got a 6-year-old and a 14-year-old. What does it look like?
They're going to look different. They're going to look different. The 6-year-old, we're going to be on the floor, and we're going to be going into those developmental movements, getting them on their stomachs, commando crawling and crossing over and getting the head movement and all kinds of things. It's going to look very playful, because that is how kids are supposed to develop. Playing on the floor. So we're right back there. A 14-year-old, on the other hand, we're doing very similar kinds of movements, but they're age appropriate, standing, sitting, maybe laying down on their backs, but they're based in development. They're based on the developmental movements that we should have made. There's a whole lot more cognitive self-awareness that we're able to do with 14-year-olds, which makes it really empowers them to be able to understand themselves better.
And something I'm hearing from parents is that these kids want to come here. They say, we've had to force our child, whatever, really strongly encourage them to go other places, but they ask to come here because it feels good in their bodies. They know it feels good. They know something is happening, something important. I even have a 4-year-old client who was stuck in development, but mom said, he loves coming. He's asking to come to see you. And once we unlocked his Wendy, did you have something?
I was just thinking that if you're walking around as a person, whether you're 4 or 14 or 40, and you know that you're uncomfortable in your own skin, that's the way we most often talk about it. Is what you're saying is that their nervous system is just torqued or twisted in a way that needs to be smoothed out through the movements that you're doing that gets the brain a little bit more adjusted, and then people kind of, they can take a deep breath and they're not quite so maladjusted.
The two words that come to mind is disorganization and immaturities in the brain. So if they're immature, then we can help mature them. And then if they're disorganized, we can help organize. And we organize from the bottom up. So we organize the body, we organize the emotions, and we organize our thought processes in the thinking brain. So we're organizing all 3 levels together so that again, processing can occur more effectively.
And it's done with commando style crawling on the floor, can do bottom up stuff. I know I'm minimizing it, but I'm also trying to wrap my brain around the fact of how simple it is, but yet how incredibly sophisticated it is too.
Right. Natural development is simple. Think about a baby's development, and when we had time and we were on the floor and there's a lot less going on in the world, natural development just happened. We didn't teach the baby to crawl. They just figured out how to crawl.
Right.
And their curiosity. So we're going back to empowering people to explore on their own and figure out what their body needs using many different programs. We took the best of the best. Brain Gym is a big part of this. But the emotion code, which I think we have talked about, emotional freedom techniques, developmental movements, sensory integration activities, rhythmic movement training, and we just pulled and pulled and pulled from really awesome programs and simplified it.
So when I started this, after I helped my daughter out and she went back into the public school, she wanted to go back in, I said, I need to help more kids with this. So I started my own business, Alternative Educational Support, which was tutoring with some movement-based therapy involved. And as it turned out, I ended up doing far more movement-based therapy than the tutoring because then they could access the academics once I did. But meanwhile, Pam and I, like we said, we knew each other. So we would be talking about, our successes and what we were doing. And we just kept, like you said, it kept becoming more simple and simple and simple. And so we've taken the best of the best because there was so much out there, but it was too much. And we just kept refining it.
Yeah.
We just kept refining it. And then we realized, oh my gosh, it is really this simple. How has no one figured this out to this degree, pulling all of this together? Because it is so simple. And that's why I think it works. That's why the parents understand it. That's why the children understand and feel it, because of the simplicity.
Yeah. And these the results that you see in your clients, are these permanent results?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Well, permanent to a point of what we're working on specifically, let's say that holding pattern we were talking about, it will permanently be taken off of a holding pattern at that point for sure. So anything we've done is going to move forward. Now, that's not to say that you don't need to do any movement therapy for the rest of your life. We do it all the time for ourselves because life throws you curveballs, life gets stressful. So now these are just tools in your toolbox. So, so I have a child, I gave him some tools, it helped him with what we were doing, that unstuck him. Now he's not going to come back to that place again. But now he has these tools. I'll tell you a quick story. He was in line for First Communion, having a hard time because he knew he hated the taste of that wafer. He was doing his EFT, his emotional freedom tapping. On the way, Mom said, on his own, he thought to use that tool to be okay with eating that wafer by the end of the line. And sure enough, he was. So it helps, it unsticks. Those results are permanent. They move on, but then you're always going to need these tools in life. Everyone does. Everyone does.
Absolutely.
To get through, we all have our own bag. These happen to be very efficient, very quick, very efficient.
Yeah.
So you can change your brain at any age, like at any time in your life, you can actually change. That's just so fascinating.
Empowering. It's so empowering. I mean, and when I took that Brain Gym 101 class, I was 35 years old. And in the 3-day training that I was in, I actually moved through some social emotional issues I've had all my life about social contact and being comfortable in groups and things like that. And after 3 days, I was at a different place. And that actually allowed me to open up my own practice and move on. I wrote a book. There's so many different things I was able to do after that I just was never able to do before. So, and we all know us adults are just as stressed. And that's part of our Brain Fit Academy mission too, is to support the families and the parents, particularly the moms. We offer a Moms in Balance class where they can come together with other moms who get it and use the same type of movement activities and set their own goals and move forward. So it's not all about the kids.
Yeah, more moms are even coming to us for that emotion code, releasing trapped emotions, because what they're bringing to the table sometimes is stress for the family. And so once we help them relax and get rid of some of their old patterns, they're telling us that that's making the whole house relaxed. And now everybody can be in a different state of mind right from the get-go.
Really, that's that old adage, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
That's what you're right, Wendy. It's
really, so you say there's some scientific corollary to that. I mean, we all know it. We all feel it.
Right. Well,
mirror neurons. Okay, Debbie, say more about that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Say, what's a mirror neuron?
We'll let our guests talk. Go ahead.
No, that's quite all right. Right. So, the child is going to feel and inherit some of what mom has. And it's inevitable for that to happen. And we know that a mother-child connection energetically is so strong. So we need to help the mom. And Pam and I said that we're working with the children, and gosh, now we're putting them back in the families, but what's going on there? You know, so we need to get deeper. We need to go to the family. And the parents are really embracing this and feeling a difference. But I also wanted to say that, so we make connections in our brain, pathways we call them, or highways, brain highways. And what we're doing is we're just making, brain highways going up. Yeah. So we're just making new brain highways and, you know, letting the old ones just fade away. So it's just like having a habit of any kind, and we're just changing our body's habits. And we're re-educating the muscles that you don't have to lock up and react the way you're doing anymore. It's okay. Let's change that brain highway and make new pathways that are positive in a new direction.
Whenever I think about breaking a habit, I think of willpower and will and failure and New Year's resolutions, and I'm going to do it and I don't and I want to. And what you're saying is with some movement therapy, you can change, we can make a brain that's going right, go left, and any willpower involved.
Right. We have a big come on over. We have a big mascot we call Mo. He's 3 parts of the brain, and we use that body-mind connection again, where we have the children draw those brain highways right up on Mo. Okay, this is the highway that I want to extinguish. This is the new highway I want to make. And then we go move our bodies with that intention in mind. And then they go over and they'll X out that old highway, saying, I don't need that anymore. They're telling their brains and their bodies what they want.
It's just like learning math. You learn new concepts in math, and so you can learn new habits. It's all the same. It's all brain highways.
So just can you give our listeners and viewers just a couple of actionable tips that they could take home with them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the first one is, believe it or not, this is actually a brain gym activity. Drinking water. Can you believe drinking water? And this is water in here. Yes, it is.
Yeah, for me too.
This is tea. Sorry. Go on.
Water breaks down the salts in our body and creates electrolytes. And that's the electricity that our whole nervous system is based on. And so if we are dehydrated, there's less electricity, less brain highways. So actually drinking water is the #1 stress reducer. And it sounds, again, way too simple, and everyone knows it, but it's a habit. We need to create that habit of staying hydrated.
Right. And, you know, so another one is all of those acupressure or acupoint points in your ears, if you just rub your ears, you're going to get every part of your body massaged because it's all connected. Yeah.
The ears were the first sensory system to develop in utero. So there's neural pathways from the ears to every part of our body.
Right. And don't forget the insides too, because there's good stuff going on, like not too far in, but just not just the lobes, just in a little bit too.
And what will that do? Reduce stress?
It releases tension in the neck and shoulders. It opens up the eustachian tubes, great for preventing ear infections, but it also activates the auditory system. So teachers will use, putting on our thinking caps, our, listening ears. So to open up those hearing channels, get the brain ready to listen, take in instruction, and so forth. So that's a very simple one. Another one that we've done is some cross crawl, which really gets the 2 sides of the brain working together and the 2 sides of the body. And it's crossing over and touching the opposite side of your knee. You can do it standing, sitting. This is a very popular one. Get the blood flowing, crossing over.
And again, I do this at any age. And when I do it with my really young ones who aren't able to coordinate that yet, I sit them right on my lap. And I take their hand and I lift my leg and I do it with them. And it's all playful. And I want to reiterate that when you do anything, and you ladies know this, you're in this field of natural healing, when you do anything in a joyful state, it's just going to be that much better. So keep everything fun and light and playful. Nothing gets too serious around here, because that's when you heal best, when you're joyful and playful. So when you're doing those cross crawls, have fun with it. My daughter and I used to do mirrored cross crawls where we would try to kind of trick each other, and we'd have to follow each other, and we would end up in fits of laughter. And then she could sit down and she'd say, Mom, I've got this. Now I can do my writing. all the thoughts are coming to me now. So it's amazing.
Those are amazingly simple and
Right.
so effective. The mind body. It's an amazing instrument. I can't wait. We want to talk to you guys again, but wouldn't it be great to talk to them in like 5 years and see what new advancement?
What other things have you
I've heard this.
incorporated?
Have you heard this? That in the last 20 years, that there's been more discoveries about the brain and neuroscience in the last 20 years than there were in all the years prior. You
Wow.
heard that statistic too?
Well, it's the decade.
Very exciting.
Key to the brain.
Right,
It's amazing. So all this stuff is kind of hot off the press and
It
not
sounds like the scientists
Are
made
catching
new
up.
brain highways so that they could explore more.
That's right.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Wow. Well, this
Great.
has been great. I'm
Yep.
sorry to say that we need to wind up, but I wanted to ask you, how can people find you online? Do you do anything? Do the people have to come to that place in Massachusetts, or do you do work over the internet?
Well, I've begun to do work through Skype or Zoom, and what I do is we'll either do it with a video where I'll do some movements, we'll come up with some goals, and we'll do exactly what we do here, and just I'll talk to the folks on the computer. Or I've even done some things like the emotion code just on the telephone. You know, I even did the emotion code, you'll laugh, one time in my car in between doing things because my daughter was in Peru and she had a friend who wanted some of this energy work done. She said, Mom, can you FaceTime us here in Peru? So I did some work in Peru. So it's boundless. The walls are boundless.
Oh, that's great. So people can find you. Tell us the name of your website and if there are any projects coming up that people across the country, across the globe could take advantage of with you.
Sure. And they can find us on www.brainfitacademy.com, and they can contact us through the website.
Okay, great. Any projects coming up that are new and exciting that are, like I said, global or more local right now?
They're more local right now. We've got some training courses. We're training to hire. We're looking for coaches to expand the business. And we have a Moms in Balance group, but again, all local.
Okay, great. Well, anybody that's living in Massachusetts or Rhode Island should get on that site and see if they can come and join in.
Yeah.
But we
Absolutely.
just had a gal all the way from Virginia who came up to take one of our courses. We developed a course called Developing the Brain from the Bottom Up, and we have it so that it's accredited for 3 credits at Worcester State College for graduate credit,
Nice.
as well as our Brain Gym course that we take. So we offer 2 courses for college credits.
Perfect.
Great.
Yes, and our Developing the Brain from the Bottom Up is all about those primitive reflex we talk about. So they can get really in-depth information on how to work with these reflexes.
Great. Are there a lot of resources on your website for people that this is all kind of new to them? Okay, great. Good.
Good.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I really thank you
Wonderful.
so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I want to hear more about the emotion code.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that
You'll
another
have to get
time.
that
So,
another time.
yeah. Thank you so much for being with us today, Christina and
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Really appreciate it.
Enlightening, empowering,
Yep, great stuff.
inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. So are you as well.
Water, excuse me. But
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. And please tell your friends and family about this. I know that you've learned something today. We certainly have. So don't keep it to yourself. Make sure that you share it with other people. And please go on iTunes and give us a rating and a review. And again, tell other people all about it. So again, Mighty Married Moms, my name is Wendy Williams.
Linda Tighe.
And Debbie Owen.
This is goodbye. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community.
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.